Thank you for being on with us.
I am very honored to be with you, and very pleased to speak to the American public to this most ludicrous attack that you are referring to.
Please tell us what happened.
Well, as you mentioned, this year is the 150th anniversary of this commune in Paris, And during the commune, there were killings and there were martyrs, particularly where the main martyr was Monsignor Archbishop George Darbois, who was the Archbishop of Paris, who was taken hostage by the communards and shot by them on May 24, 1871, together with 42 other people. So the parishes in the area where this killing happened organized a procession, and this a procession with the priests and with families who came with the children and strollers, well, obviously elderly people, some young scouts, and altar boys, And this had no political connotation. The auxiliary bishop of Paris, Denis Jachier, has said that the objective was purely religious. There was no political demand in the approach. And nevertheless, the procession was violently attacked by anarchists who proclaimed themselves to be the heirs of this Paris Commune of 71. So they began first to whistle and curse the parishioners from the terraces and the cafes. Then red flags appeared and death threats were issued. And then after the threats, the attackers took action. So it was a horde of hooded Antifas. These Antifas that you already also had there in America, And they beat the worshippers. They throw bottles, trash cans, and even wire fences were thrown at the faithful, And eventually, these elderly people and children, these terrorized worshippers, had to find a refuge in a church, the Church of Our Lady of the Cross, So they had to wait and pray until the police exfiltrated them from the procession. So people attending the procession, they thought, well, we're living like 150 years back during the commune. And this was pure hatred of Christian religion, nothing else. And there were only 2 policemen to protect the procession, so the authorities said nothing. And at the end, no comment on the media, no politicians. The minister of the Interior only said a little something by Twitter saying, well, I am with the Catholics. And if this would happen with another religion, this would be an outcry. But because it's Catholics, then you can just dismiss it.
2 police officers. That seems rather insane to me, to only have 2 police officers to protect all of these people. Were those police officers armed, Mr. Ureta?
No, they were not armed. And actually another thing is that at the same time, left-wing parties had organized other rallies in the area.
Hold that thought. We're going to take this break. We will be right back.
Yes, and then it's incredible because they only sent 2 policemen knowing that the left-wing people were around there. So it basically it's almost complicity of the authorities with what happened.
Now, I'm worried about the faithful in France. There was another story out. We may cover this in greater detail later this week about a French court removing 6 children from British parents and putting them into the home of a Muslim, refusing to. I mean, they don't go to mass. They're being taught Muslim prayers. What is the status of the faith in France, and what is the status of the faithful?
It's very, very bad, very, very bad, because we have 2 problems in France. One are these radical Islamists, who are making mosques with the support of the authorities, and unfortunately also with the support of their religious authorities. Catholic bishops support the building of these mosques. So that is really, they are invading basically France. And plus we have these kind of atheist, anarchist, Antifas, attacking the church. For instance, just in 2019, I remember at the very beginning, in February, there were 10 attacks in 10 days. 5 of them were acts of desecration and 5 of vandalism. The worst of that happened at a church in Nîmes, in the south of France, Notre Dame des Enfants, Our Lady of the Children. You know, the tabernacle was forced, the consecrated hosts were scattered, were broken, a cross was traced with excrement on the wall,
Oof.
and hosts were stuck on it.
Oh, God have mercy.
And excrement were deposited on the children of the statue of the Virgin. And you know, the criminal who did this passed into the court like a month ago. He got, I think, a suspended sentence of, let's say, 3 months and 150 euros of penalty, because the lawyer claimed that this was an act, a work of art. And the judge said that obviously had no religious connotation what he did. It wasn't out of hatred of religion. So when you have the authorities being the accomplices, you can imagine the situation. And so this is happening all the time. All the time, churches are set on fire, are sacked, are desecrated. And well, we're trying to organize Catholics to react against that, because if we don't react, obviously this will keep going.
Mr. Ureta, the situation, it's horrific that they would say that this is a act of art. Because if someone decided to draw, especially in France, if someone decided to draw a depiction of Muhammad, for instance, there would be outcry against everyone. But if you give this so-called art for Catholics, then nobody cares. Could you speak about the situation with that?
Precisely. You know, some months ago, someone tagged a mosque, put some inscriptions against Muhammad in the wall of the mosque, outside of the mosque, not inside, outside. Well, the Minister of the Interior went to the city in Nantes to make a protest, an official protest. Why? This is Islamophobia. We cannot tolerate this. So, but this happens inside of the church, that sort of sacrilege, and the minister said, well, I'm so sorry, In every year, there are 1,000 acts of religious attacks in France, actually. Of those 1,000, more than 900 are against Catholic churches.
Wow.
And so that brings us to the next point about the Catholic churches. We've been hearing about these churches, these Catholic churches across France that are spontaneously combusting. Why are all these churches spontaneously combusting, just like Notre Dame spontaneously caught on fire and nobody knows what happened?
Well, that is the fire in Notre Dame of Paris was put onto secret defense, a secret of national defense. So no one may know really what happened.
Wow.
So that is terrible. It's terrible. And also, for instance, the cemeteries, Catholic cemeteries, are being attacked as well, and they're desecrated. In the last weeks there were like 10 cases, in various cities, and the media simply doesn't report. The big media, only the local media says something in Fontainebleau. It's a city like 70 kilometers north of Paris. Quite important. 70 graves were desecrated just after Christmas. And nobody even knew that. So that is the climate. That is the climate favored by the authorities. Favored by the authorities. And at the same time, you have all these Freemasons, for instance, protesting if in a court hall there is a crucifix or whatever. There is a ludicrous case. There is a little town in Brittany, in French Brittany, with a Facebook page, and they have in one section was patrimony, and in the patrimony they put their crosses and the religious monuments, and Facebook took that page out, saying that what could be seen as offensive by other people of other religion. You know? So
Wow.
it's
This is not good news. Mr. Jose Antonio Ureta is our guest. Tradition Family Property in France is the organization he belongs to. We have just about 5.5 minutes left in our conversation with Mr. Ureta. Mr. Ureta, it took 700 years for Spain to reconquer its country and to reestablish itself as a Catholic nation. Will that be the future of France? Is it possible at this point?
Well, you know, the problem is that the majority are still very sleepy about the situation. No? You know, Pope John Paul II, in the year 2000, when he made a special synod on Europe, he wrote after an apostolic exhortation where he denounced what he called a silent apostasy. So Europe was in a process of silent apostasy. This is very visible in France, where you have a minority of people practicing, even though still the majority are baptized and consider themselves Catholics, but not practicing Catholics at all. So these people have to be awakened, and the situation is getting very serious, you know. Until, let's say, a year ago, more or less, the Minister of Interior of President Macron was the one who actually put President Macron in the presidency, no, and who previously had been the mayor of Lyon. When he left, the Minister of Interior is Home Affairs, no, so the police is under his protection. In his speech, he said, referring to the les banlieues, as they say in France, I mean the outskirts of the city where most of the immigrated population resides, no? Said, so far we live side by side. In a few time, years' time, we will be in front of each other. So basically warning about the possibility of a civil war. Because of this radical extremist Islamist, and President Macron even just passed a law against separatists because they want to make a separatist state, Islamic separatist state inside of France.
Like a Pakistan.
This will lead to a civil war. No?
Wow.
Sorry, I didn't answer.
It's similar to Pakistan. So they created a Muslim state out of India called Pakistan.
Exactly. That's what they want to do, precisely. So now what we need basically is a new Covadonga. So some strong Catholics who take with great devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary and who start to fighting back legally, not with weapons, but legally, you know, and defending ourselves when we are attacked, obviously. And that will be the starting point of the reconquest. But we hope that this reconquest will be much quicker than the Spanish reconquest that took, as you mentioned, 700 years.
Jose Antonio Ureta is our guest. We have 2 minutes left in our conversation, TFP in France. So where do we go from here, Mr. Ureta? What is possible for the faithful? What could they do? 2 minutes.
Well, what we are doing is lots of campaigns to alerting people about this situation. And now more and more people are realizing the true situation. Then we encourage people, obviously, first to pray God so that this silence apostasy fades away and people recover their faith. And then we put pressure on the politicians, you know, to protect Christianity. And we put pressures on our shepherds, the Catholic bishops, who are even contributing for the building of mosques. You know. So unless we change this mindset where they consider the Muslims or Antifas, you know, are expressions of a multicultural society, you know, if we don't change this mindset, France will not be France anymore.
Well, that is going to have to do it for now. Mr. Jose Antonio Ureta, we're very grateful for your time today. Thank you for sharing with us this grim news.
Thank you for inviting me.
God bless you and God love you. Have a great day. We'll have to have you back for an update, but that is going to do it for the first hour. God bless the TFP in France for what they're doing there and the faithful. Hopefully, God bless you. Hopefully, the rest of you can join us for the next hour. We'd love to have you. You can hang out with us online if you'd like. You can just go go to our website, grnonline.com/CDT. We will play the game show. In fact, whoever is our guest is very likely to win the prize today, because today is the only day we're going to play the game this week because of our share-a-thon coming up starting tomorrow across the GRN. Otherwise, we have a lineup of guests. In fact, actor Bug Hall is going to be our guest tomorrow to talk about his conversion. So a lot of great Catholic Drive Time coming.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.